Welcome to the Leavenworth Preservation Commission meeting for January 4th, 2023. I believe we won't need to do a roll call, and we have a quorum.
We have a quorum. We've got 5 of you.
Okay. And has everyone had a chance to review the minutes?
Yes, and I have 2 corrections.
Okay.
On the first page, under new business, the paragraph below Chairman Jackson called for the staff report. The second line at the end, it says display windows flaking. I think it's supposed to be flanking a recessed entrance.
Yeah, I saw that, or I thought it
Yep.
was facing, but I guess that's be right, yeah.
Yep. Thank
And then-
you.
And then on page 3,
Okay.
just above other business, the last paragraph there, at the end, it says Commissioner Otto moves. It should be moved.
Okay.
Must have auto-corrected.
Yep. All right. We appreciate the proofreading.
Great catches.
Yes.
You give it to me, I read it.
Well, we appreciate it.
That's the purpose.
Yes.
Are there any other observable actions?
Not at this time.
Then I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes
As corrected.
as corrected.
Motion.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we accept the minutes. We'll start on your end, Sherry,
Aye.
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 and I.
Okay.
Unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Other than that, we have no other old business, so let's look at 211 Pine Street.
Okay, so first, I want to introduce Bethany Falvey. She is our new city planner, and so we haven't had any meetings since she has been with us. She came to us from the State Historic Preservation Office, so we're excited for her expertise on all things historic preservation. Ken, I know you had worked with her previously on some stuff when she was with the state. So she's gonna start handling most, if not all, of the preservation cases, so you'll still see my face, but you'll be hearing mostly from Bethany, so she will be handling tonight's.
Okay.
Welcome. Thank you. So this is 211 Pine Street, and it's a state law review for proposed modifications to the property. It's located within the Arch Street Historic District. The scope of work includes remodel, update, paint, sheetrock, cabinets, flooring, and windows. Both the house and garage are non-contributing structures to the historic district due to the secondary asbestos shingle siding. But despite the house being non-contributing to the district, the National Register nomination identifies the front entry with transom, 6/1 windows, 16/1 first-story front window, 2-story L with an inset porch at the end of the first story, and a 1-story rear addition and porch as notable features to the property. The property did have a fire in the rear part of the house, which caused some damage to a portion of the property, which is part of the remodel. The applicant is proposing a whole house remodel. The proposed work for the exterior includes a new asphalt roof and gutters, replacing the windows with American Craftsman 1/1 vinyl windows. The work also will be done to the garage. On the interior, there's going to be some new electrical, HVAC, sheetrock installation, repainting of the whole house, and then new flooring in the bathrooms and new carpet in the bedrooms. As part of the required reviews, the proposed project should be reviewed utilizing the standards for rehabilitation as set forth by the Secretary of Interior. 1, a property shall be used for its historic purpose or placed in a new use that requires minimal change to the defining characteristics of the building and its site and environment. There's no such change proposed under this criteria. The historic character of a property shall be retained and preserved. The removal of historic materials or alteration of features and space that characterize a property shall be avoided. The historic wood windows are proposed to be removed and replaced with American Craftsman 1/1 vinyl windows. Each property shall be recognized as a physical record of its time, place, and use. Changes that create a false sense of historical development, such as adding conjectural features or architectural elements from other buildings, shall not be undertaken. No such change is proposed for this criteria. Most properties change over time. Those changes that have acquired historic significance in their own right shall be retained and preserved. No such work is proposed. Distinctive features, finishes, and construction techniques or examples of craftsmanship that characterize a historic property shall be preserved. The existing wood 6/1 windows and 16/1 first-story front window are distinctive to the property. Deteriorated features shall be repaired rather than replaced. Where the severity of deterioration requires replacement of a distinctive feature, the new feature shall match the old in design, color, texture, and other visual qualities, and where possible, materials. Replacement of missing features shall be substantiated by documentary, physical, or pictorial evidence. The severity of deterioration has not been documented, and the proposed replacement windows do not match the existing. Chemical or physical treatments such as sandblasting that cause damage to historic materials shall not be used. The surface cleaning of structures, if appropriate, shall be undertaken using the gentlest means possible. Sandblasting is not a recommended treatment for cleaning of the siding and could also cause some environmental concerns. Significant archaeological resources affected by a project shall be protected and preserved if such resources must be disturbed. Mitigation measures should be undertaken. There's no ground disturbing work proposed. New additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction shall not destroy historic materials that characterize the property. The new work shall be differentiated from the old and shall be compatible with the massing, size, scale, and architectural features to protect the historic integrity of the property and its environment. The historic wood windows are proposed to be removed and replaced with American Craftsmanship 1/1 vinyl windows. The proposed replacement windows do not match the existing. New additions and adjacent or related new construction shall be undertaken in such a manner that if removed in the future, the essential form, integrity of the historic property and its environment would be unimpaired. No such work is proposed. As I noted, the property and garage are non-contributing to the district, and for those reasons, I don't think that the proposed changes will impact the district as a whole. And I believe the owner is available if you have questions for him as well.
That would be my next consideration. Is one of you two gentlemen the owner? Would you come to the microphone stand, please, so we can address some questions to you?
I have a question.
Please.
Can we just get you to state your name and your address for the record?
My name is Jeff Rumis, and I live at 516 Spruce, Kansas Street. I'm sorry, 516 Spruce in Leavenworth, Kansas.
Well, first of all, thank you for purchasing this and, trying to revitalize the area. I live pretty close to this area, and so I'm always excited to see this kind of stuff. I'm not sure if I overlooked it. Are you going to paint the outside or just the interior?
Both inside and outside.
So what color scheme are you doing the outside?
I would like to do a green base and with white trim.
Okay. All right, that was my original question right there. I know, I have a couple more, in regards to the windows and the overhang in the front, but if you wanna go ahead and go, I'm gonna collect those real quick.
Okay. Ken, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Dick?
It's a major undertaking, it really is to redo the whole house, but looking at it, the structure is great. And once you get it done, it'll definitely be a compliment to the area, so I appreciate that.
I agree, sir, and I appreciate that. I've bought in several properties in Leavenworth County over the last close to 18 years. Several of them I have kept for long-term rental properties, which is what my intentions is on this house also. I've also turned some other homes also in this county. The house I presently live in is very close to where this house is, only about a half a mile away on Spruce. It's also a 141 years old, so it's even older than the house that we're talking about today. One thing that I do like to do is take homes that nobody wants because they are ran down and put a lot of sweat into them and make them into a house that anyone that is looking for that size house would want, so.
Okay. So I guess my only question so far, is this house currently it's in the historical district, but is it a historical property?
So it's in the district. Properties within districts are contributing or non-contributing, but we review every property within a district, whether it's contributing or not contributing.
Okay.
And this is non-contributing.
Yes.
Yes, it's non-contributing. I need some clarity on that because in part of my experience in this role, we've had a house before that was in the historic district and was trying to determine if it's trying to have itself placed on a historical register. So when I'm looking at the considerations of things like the changes for the windows and stuff, I know that it has to meet very specific things. So that's the follow-up piece on my particular part of the question.
So you'll probably start seeing some things that are maybe a little bit different than we have before, just with Bethany's expertise and experience in dealing with what needs to be reviewed and how it needs to be reviewed. We had previously been doing things not exactly correctly, so that's one of the things that we're working on now, is getting to where we need to be with reviewing things. So something like this, we may not have had it before you guys before. We may have done like a staff review, so it may look a little bit different for you just going forward. But yeah, we're definitely getting things to the state where they need to be for review purposes.
We're always looking to improve.
Yes.
And that was part of my recommendation is the National Register nomination stated the character defining features of the house, but it's non-contributing, so the changes proposed aren't gonna change it so significantly that it's gonna impact the district as a whole.
Okay. Are there any other questions for the owner?
I have a quick question. So, let's say this gets approved and you move forward, when are you gonna start? And, how long do you think, what's your estimated time to have it completed?
I would like to start as soon as possible, and ideally, I'd like to have it done by late spring, but with a project as big as what I believe you guys realize, sometimes things run late. But it's not something that I'm gonna be putting on the back shelf. As soon as I get permission to start on this house, I'll be starting on it.
You have everything pretty well laid out as far as the shingles and stuff too already, don't you? At least it looked like that.
The shingles are in place, just waiting to get the permits to go ahead.
Yeah. And the original question that I thought I had on the windows was answered in the paragraph, so I don't have any further questions. Thank you, though, for your contribution to, the community. Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Can I just add one thing? Is that okay? On this actual block of Pine Street, there's a house at 215 Pine, 216 Pine, 217 Pine, and 219 Pine. All four of those houses are on the same exact block of this street in the same historical district, and all four of those homes have the same windows that I'm proposing to install into this house. All four of those homes have vinyl windows, and they're all 1/1. So, my house, 211, would actually match the neighborhood, at least on this block, even more so if this was approved, guys. So, that's all.
Okay. Are there any other questions for our applicant?
Do we get to tour it when it's done?
I'm sure if you call and schedule that you want to be a renter, I'm sure I would not even recognize you in a few months and bring you into it.
It's a good way to get a good look. Okay. Are there any other comments from you? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Would
Do we
you
need to
start
open
with
the
your
public
name, please?
Yeah, hello, my name is Scott Cunningham. I live
Can I
at
get you to
211 Arch
open a
Street.
public hearing?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yep.
I need to open the
Excuse me?
public hearing officially. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Scott Cunningham, 211 Arch Street. I'm a neighbor of the house here on Pine. I basically wanted to come down and endorse and support Jeff in his attempts to get this house back into shape and back as a house on the tax rolls with a resident, people living in it. All interior repairs, he does not have a historic register house. This is a historic neighborhood, but it's not a historic register house. So any interior repairs he wants to do should be on him as the owner. There's nothing in that house that the historic register can really control because he benefits no way from that. He gets no tax advantage, nothing. So the interior repairs are should all be on the owner. The exterior stuff it falls under the historic neighborhood part. And I totally get that. I'm disappointed in the window selection. I know that there are vinyl selections that allow for 6/1s. It's a simple swap out. But that's also an owner choice. And obviously there's other houses on the block. I own a historic house. I have a house a block over. I deal with a historic windows challenge. I know they're not ideal. He's had a fire in the house and he's trying to rehabilitate the house and get it back into shape. So I would say that needs to be taken into consideration. The last thing I'd like to say is just the general tone or the general attitude towards changes or, the time capsule effect of living in a historic neighborhood. We live in historic neighborhoods. We want to have things that are attractive, period, appropriate, and whatnot, but we don't live in time capsules. We don't live in museums. We don't gain any kind of tax advantages from living in historic neighborhoods. We just live in historic neighborhoods because we want them, we love the houses, and we want to live there. But you can't constrict people to living in a time capsule or a museum. So I would say as we approach these things, we have to have a mindset that change is something, it has to be done with thought and with deliberation and possibly with approval, but it's not something that can be banned outright. And it's something that needs to be just essentially moderated or considered. For instance, many of the homes in our neighborhood, they've changed over the years. Enhancements, modifications, those are part of owning a home. Everybody wants to make their home better. If the enhancement or the modification or the renovation makes the home better, there's no reason we shouldn't allow it in a historic district as long as it maintains the character or the period appropriateness of the neighborhood. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other commentary, I will close the open session and we will revert back to the internal session. Any considerations from your end?
No.
Then I believe I'm in a position to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Oh,
Go ahead, you.
okay. I move a motion to determine the proposed changes to 211 Pine Street to do not damage or destroy the Arch Street Historic District. Is that the correct one?
Yes.
Okay.
I second it.
So it's been moved and properly seconded. I will begin the voting with you, Ed.
Yay.
Yeah.
Aye.
And I. So that is the endorsement that you're referencing. We don't strive to not make progress in what we're doing. We're just always, what we've been tasked to do is make sure that there's a consistency across the board in what the quality that's being brought to whatever neighborhood it is. And that's kind of my earlier question about, is this going to be a specific historical piece or if it's not, but it's within the confines of the area. So I think that kind of addresses your area. But my final comment to you is that I really love this, okay? The fact that somebody took the time to handwrite or hand draft their consideration, just, it just, to me, yes, it could have been done on any digital device, but I personally really appreciated that extra time that it just took you to simply do that, which lets me understand that you're really focused on all the minute details that are going to be attributed to your project. So for me, good luck. And we'll have Ed drive by and look at it after it's all over. He's got a sharp eye for that kind of stuff, and he'll just go like, wow, you did a great job. And on the interior, there's, at least my appreciation is, we usually don't have any impact on the interior. It's the exterior portion of it that we're permitted to give some kind of insight to and some sense of recommendation. That's pretty much that piece. As long as you're not, reconfiguring it that so it looks like something from the Jetsons or something else in the future, where I think most neighborhoods are pretty good with that.
Just holding the integrity
Yes.
of the area.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the state preservation law specifically addresses certain interior modifications.
Okay. Well, thank you. Does that conclude all our first business?
Yep, yes, the new business.
Yes. And then we have a couple of,
You don't need to feel like you need to stay.
minor state reviews and minor certificates of appreciation, which there's no action required from us on that.
Correct, those are staff reviews.
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen, very much. Appreciate it.
All of you. Thank you.
So with no other further
There's something about training.
open business, I think we're going to now consolidate and move into our training.
Yep, Bethany, just had some, training that she wanted to go through with you guys. So again, we're very excited to have the expertise on all of this that we did not previously have on staff.
Right.
So this is just a brief overview of the Secretary of Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties. Under the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966, the Secretary of Interior is responsible for establishing the standards and guidance for preservation, and also professional standards. They were originally created in 1978. This is mainly to help with the new historic tax credit program that was in 1976. And they've been updated a couple times since then.
Is that this?
Yes. So this is the updated illustrated version. It's a big, thick book that you can find online also. So there's actually 4 standards of treatment for historic property: preservation, rehabilitation, restoration, and reconstruction. The guidelines are intended to aid and to assist in applying the standards to all building types. They're not meant to give case-specific advice or address exceptions or unusual conditions. But for all 4 standards, you want to identify, retain, and preserve the historic materials, regardless of the standard you use. And I'm going to focus on the rehabilitation treatments, because it's the standards that we use when we review projects. And we just used them to review our case earlier. The standard requires keeping character-defining features of the property, but does allow for some changes over time. The National Register program defines integrity as consisting of 7 distinguishable aspects: location, design, setting, materials, workmanship, feeling, and association. Something to consider when reviewing a project: is the property still able to convey its significance? In the case of our previous project, it was a property within a district, so does the district still convey its significance? Sometimes districts will get delisted if so many properties change, that it's no longer a majority conveying that significance. So standard one is choosing an appropriate use. Fit the use to the building, don't fit the building to the use. This comes up a lot in bigger projects, not necessarily in some of the smaller projects we're reviewing, but for an example, like a hotel could be easily changed to an office because the windows are already there, it's an open floor plan. Silos turning into lofts wouldn't be a good option because you need windows for housing. Standard 2 deals with retaining character. You want to keep the important features and spaces. Rehab standards begin with identifying the important features of a property, look at the form of the building, the architectural detailing, and materials and features. Once the character defining features are identified, retain and preserve them. Standard 3 is period of significance. The guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings state that removing paint, plaster, or other finishes from historically finished surfaces to create a new appearance, like removing plaster to expose masonry surfaces such as brick walls, is not a recommended treatment. This would create a false sense of history. Even though it's an in-trend design feature, it's not a recommended treatment. Standard 4 deals with significant alterations over time, so you want to keep those significant layers. This 1940s storefront acquired significance and is now a character-defining feature of the property. It could have been, a turn-of-the-century brick building and they put a new storefront on in the 40s. That's conveying the significance over time. So the curved glass display window, recessed entry with decorative paving should be preserved. Standard 5 deals with materials and construction methods. You want to keep the important materials and techniques. This example is the Wichita Municipal Airport Administration Building in Wichita. I know it's not a Leavenworth example, but it's pretty distinctive craftsmanship. Standard 6 we use pretty frequently when reviewing projects. It's repair over replace. If it can't be preserved, then you want to replace in kind. So in this example, the wood boards were repaired where able, and where they were severely deteriorated, they were replaced in kind. This also talks about materials, so if someone wanted to replace them with another like material, you would want it to match dimensions. Standard 7 deals with chemical and physical treatments, so you just want to clean carefully and not damage the material. In this example, the hard protective fire coating on the brick has been removed with sandblasting or power washing, and that can really accelerate the deterioration of the brick because it's removed its protective coating. Standard 8 we don't deal with frequently. It's the archaeology standard. Artifacts should remain in location within context for interpretation. Removing artifacts from their original location creates a lack of context. Standard number 9 deals with new construction. So standards 9 and 10 we also use pretty frequently to review projects. Integrity and compatibility. You want it to be the same but different. This example would not be a compatible addition. Standard 10 deals with integrity and reversibility. So you want new additions or new construction to be taken in a manner that if it were removed, the historic materials wouldn't be impacted. I'm happy to answer any questions, but just wanted to go through a quick refresh of the standards. And if you guys have suggestions of other topics you feel like you want training on, I'm happy to put that together for you. Or we can bring someone in too.
On standard 7, you were talking about sandblasting and the effects of sandblasting brick particularly, because it takes the finish or the sealer off. But if somebody sandblasts and is going to seal the brick, is that acceptable?
So if they seal it, that masonry is very porous and it's meant to breathe. By sealing it, you're preventing the water from getting in, but if there's already water coming from somewhere else, it's gonna back up into the interior and it's gonna take a lot longer to notice that having to come through the plaster or the sheetrock. The water has to go somewhere, and like I said, buildings are meant to breathe. So sealing's not a recommended treatment.
Can you provide this to us on digits?
Oh, the
Oh,
PowerPoint?
Do you want a copy of that?
Sure,
Yep, we can
we can
send you guys
email that out.
Yep, we'll send you a PDF of that tomorrow.
Okay, because you're saying it's pretty large, it's a lot of pages, so,
Yeah, we can make it a PDF. That's gonna be a smaller file than sending you a PowerPoint, so
Okay.
we can do that for you.
request.
Not a problem.
I mean, because I have a copy of it, but I'm not sure if that's got everything in it. We can do that on a sidebar afterwards, just
Yeah.
as, that was just my concern. You who live in a historic house?
Yeah, I'm over here, like, I don't know, I wanna rat us out or not, but, I mean, I think our house, it's 1875. It is of significance. It was owned by the 7th governor of Kansas. He lived in it, George Anthony. And, it was red brick, and it's painted now. And it was painted when we bought it, so now I'm sitting here going, is the house breathing? Where's the water going? Like, now I'm a little nervous, but,
A lot of buildings were painted
Yes.
historically, and in that case, it's allowed to be repainted because it's already been painted. But yes, water
Well, I
infiltration.
wanted to sandblast it, but my husband did not want to do that, because I liked the red brick kind of white effect. But it was repainted after we moved in, the same color. So it is what it is, but, yeah, I mean, we haven't had to do much to our house because it was already renovated when we moved in. Everything's been modernized, has a great, like, granite countertops, everything's up to snuff. It's just, we needed to paint it. So I really don't have a lot to add in that area because we haven't had to get approval on anything. But I'm sure the days are coming where we're going to have to eventually, because our back deck is starting to weather. There's certain things that we're thinking about changing, but we don't want to hurt the integrity of the house. But, so we'll see. You'll probably see me soon. Not up here, over
Yeah.
there. But
Bring some
no,
popcorn.
I know.
Yeah, you'll have to recuse yourself.
Bring some popcorn when you go.
No, I
You
mean.
Be out there.
But no, I don't really have that much to add. I was pleasantly surprised to see, I knew there was a South Esplanade Historical District. I did not know there was an Arch Street Historical District. So that was new and enlightening tonight to find out. I thought that was all kind of the Esplanade area. So that's, I don't know if there's more historical areas.
We've got a number throughout the town, and we can do that to send you guys just a list of them, just with kind of a little overview map of where they're at. Cause yeah, we kind of forget where they are. There's, more than we think.
Yeah,
town.
and I ran into a gentleman in town here just recently, and we were talking about the area, and he said down the street on Esplanade, there's modern houses now, and he said there used to be big historical houses there. And, unfortunately, you have these historical modern home, historical,
Yeah.
modern. And so it kind of disrupts the flow a little bit in my
Yeah.
mind, but what do you do? And I guess that's where it would be non-contributing if they decided to make a change to this modern house. Like, they wouldn't have to necessarily get approval on things, would they, like this gentleman did tonight?
If it were in the district, even if it's non-contributing,
Oh, still,
It would
even if
still
it's
have to be
okay.
So if
reviewed.
there had been like a house torn down at some point in the past in the district and a modern home built, and they wanted to do things, it's still in the district and it's non-contributing, and so,
but you would still review
yeah, you'd still review it because it's in the district.
Yeah, because his was an older
So,
home, so I was
yeah.
talking more about a modern home that's in the district, so now you
Yeah.
answer my questions.
Like, we just approved, a few months ago, a building permit for a very modern home on Esplanade, and it's just outside of the district, and when I first saw it, I was like, there's no way, because I thought it was in the district, and then I looked, and it's not in the district, and so you'll probably see it going up.
Is it North Esplanade
Yes.
though, right? Yeah, I know where you're talking, not south.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's North Esplanade, there's south.
Yeah, there's the two
It's very
districts.
confusing, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure everybody's like going with that house, like, because,
Yeah.
I mean, it's neat, but.
Is it going up already, or is it up, or?
Not to where people
Yeah.
are probably going to say that at this moment, but I'm sure they're wondering.
It's very modern.
Yeah, what is going to
It's a
happen.
beautiful home, but it's not historic.
Yeah. But that's interesting that that's not in the district where
It
it's,
is
where it lays.
just outside.
How clever of them.
It's a good strategy. You guys got anything else for our, questions for our training session?
And
Thank
I-
you
oh,
for.
you're welcome.
Doing that.
Welcome.
And I did want to say that we don't have any cases for February, so there won't be a February meeting.
Okay.
Good to know. I'm going on a cruise, so hey,
Oh, fun.
it's time I had a little fun.
Yes. And then we did just want to mention that we have a couple of terms coming up this year. Ed, yours expires in April, and Dick, you expire in April as well. So we certainly hope you would like to be reappointed. You don't have to tell us tonight, but if you could just let us know, one way or the other here coming up, and
I have one question.
Yeah.
That came up because First Presbyterian Church isn't on the National Registry. And I was reviewing insurance policy, and because it's on the National Registry, insurance has to cover those particular pieces of the property that are historical in nature. And of course, there's a premium to that too.
Let me tell
But
you.
it specifically states that if the property is damaged to a certain level, that things will be put back with original type finishes, if available. If not, they will be made to look available. If that's not available, then of course they go to what is available. Do we in any way from this commission emphasize to property owners, and particularly individual property owners who own a house that's on the registry, that they should have insurance coverage for replacement or renovation, whatever it may be, that keeps that property in a historical context?
I think insurance companies make you do that. They did when we purchased our house.
Okay.
yeah, we haven't done any individual, information for property owners, but that's certainly something that we could look at putting together, just some sort of like, brief, one-page brochure, to kind of send out to property owners, and it, we've got address list of all the, historic properties and district properties in town, so, it'd be fairly easy to put just kind of a brief informational thing together that we could send out.
I know realtors don't want to see that, but
Right, but it's, as property owners, it's good to know.
Well, there's also some insurance companies that won't cover you. So, I mean, we've just bought our house 5 years ago, so fairly recent, and, we always went with a particular company and we had to switch.
Oh,
Because they wouldn't, our 1875 house, they're like.
They wouldn't
"No,
cover a
we don't-
historic home."
We're not gonna cover historic homes. So
Oh,
I think there's
interesting.
like, if you call an insurance company, they're gonna say, hey, we don't insure that. Or we're gonna insure you, but that's how ours is. It's like replace, well, how can you replace these that have been built by hand for this governor? Like, there's no way. So it is very detailed like that too. And you do pay a premium. So I'm not sure if sending things out, because I think the insurance companies
yeah.
cut you off.
And it wouldn't
at the
necessarily have
gate.
to be about insurance, but we
Right.
could certainly,
Yeah,
you know,
maybe
We're not
investigate.
put things together
recommending
and-
the insurance company by name.
No, I
Yeah.
Here's the
understand that.
questions you
Yeah.
as the property owner need to ask.
we
But I
could
think
certainly
that
look
the
at some
insurance
topics
companies
that would be relevant
cut you,
to property
like,
owners.
when you go to get insurance, they automatically say, how old's your home? And then you
Right.
go, oh, you have to do this.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it would behoove us, I'm not saying an insurance company to put that information out there, because I think there's already a safety net, is what I'm saying.
And
But
it's a
I'm not
question
sure.
that we got at the State Historic Preservation Office a lot. Our National Register Coordinator, Jamie Fiore, has a one-page letter that when people call asking, she sends it. Just because you're on the register doesn't mean that you have to, I mean, we have the Kansas State Preservation Law, which is a little bit different than other states handle National Register properties. I came from Indiana. In Indiana, if you were on the National Register, there was no restrictions. So
And there's
really,
different state and federal or national too, as well.
and
It's-
local.
You know, maybe it's just we run a series of articles in the paper.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we can get stuff on the
Did you
city's
know you're living
website
in a
and,
historical
yeah,
Community,
Yeah.
Leavenworth.
Yep.
But more specifically, you may also be residing inside of a historical district.
Yeah, like Arch Historical
Yeah.
District, I had no concept that even existed.
yeah, we can sure look at some topics that would be good to get some
And I think
information
the
about.
newspaper would eat that up,
Oh, sure.
because they need
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
That was off the record, right?
Right, that's up to them. Melissa, stop recording, please.
I meant, they need
Yeah.
some meat, some information.
Yeah, sure.
If there's nothing else, and the side question is, are there some state level training things? I think, Dick, you attended a couple training sessions
I wanted to
last
go to
year.
that one.
Yeah, I did it online.
Okay.
So it's gonna be an Independence this year. It's the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the first weekend in May. Registration won't be open till closer, but there could be some funding from the state available to send
Is it the
commissioners.
state one or?
Yeah,
what's
it's the
other
state one. It's
in
in Independence though,
Okay. Kansas or Missouri?
Kansas.
Okay, that's a sweet little town.
My previous job, I was planning the conference, so
gonna
that's why I know the
Oh,
details.
yeah.
I mean, I might go to it, because I go to Independence, Kansas all the time, like down in that area, so.
But yeah, and once we get information about it, we'll certainly let you guys know. And like Bethany said, there's usually funding from the state that we can use to help commissioners attend.
Yeah, that one meeting that, I hope it was with this committee, maybe it was the other, I wanted to go to that so bad in December, but I couldn't make it. I think it was with preservation.
Yeah.
Did you make it to that one? It was in
Um,
Topeka, I think.
Oh, that was planning commission.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So, commingling.
So Bethany, check your reserves of stuff that you're aware of
Yeah.
that we've never heard about. Because your contribution is to help us be better. I think we're kind of good, I think we're better than just good, but the idea is that our approach is that we want to be better. And because since we're the first city in Kansas, we have to be better.
Right, set the
That's
standard.
why, that's right, it's a plus. Because it's individually and collectively a preservation of just even the properties, whether it's the church, whether it's museums or our own personal homes, or, those kinds of things are real important. And just to be able to share generic information with our fellow citizens is good. So we'll try to ask you questions, just kind of work with us the first year.
I do have a question too. So, one of the community owners here in town, did she reach out to you? she reached out to me personally. The Candle Queen, Stacy from the Candle Queen.
She is
and
not.
this is where I was a little nervous. She wanted to buy a historical property, and she reached out to me on Facebook, and I felt like it was a breach of my position. So I immediately gave her your number to reach
Yeah.
out to purchase that property. And so I don't know if she reached out, but I did
Was that
see-
recently?
Well, it was when everything was going on with my mama
Yeah.
and her passing. So it was like October, November.
I
and
don't
I
believe
saw on Facebook she
so.
purchased it. So I'm like, oh, maybe she reached out. And so that's a question. Like a friend reaches out and says, I need to know, can I make this into this? And I was like, I don't feel good.
Yep, I
about
mean,
answering
anything,
this.
whether it's preservation related or zoning or anything, we would, yeah, just send them our way.
And that's what I did.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no,
happy
that's the
to
right
help.
thing. Yes.
So now that we're bringing more things to the commission, are we gonna have, if someone wants to do a state tax credit project, like my house, when I got state tax credits, when I put in piers in the foundation, will that need to come before the commission, or will that just go channel to the state?
That's something that we're working with the state on because the review gets done at the state level, but for permitting, it would be probably quicker to be done at our level. So we would review it, but then for your tax credits, that would be a separate review. And we try to coordinate with them to make sure that what we're saying is consistent.
but
When we did preservation pieces, renovation also, of First Presbyterian Church, we got tax credits. But the main thing to understand with tax credit is, don't lift a hammer. Don't do anything until it's approved.
Yeah.
Otherwise, any expenses you have prior to the approval are not acceptable for tax credit. So you could lose a chunk of change.
And that's an
I
IRS
ask
rule.
Can I ask you how long that took to get your tax credits? Because I've heard it's a long
It
time.
takes anywhere from 30 days to 3 months,
Oh, that's not too bad.
but you will never see it in 30 days. Not right now.
What are some of the things that they cover on the tax credits?
Anything that's physically attached to the building.
For example,
We renovated-
HVAC would be water heaters.
If you
Now,
picked
when
up your
find out
house,
HVAC goes out, it's either 115 degrees or, 25 degrees, and you can't wait 30 days. So
and if you
Figure
call,
that.
they can do some verbal approvals
Is
for
there
that
a
type of thing.
limit as to per church, per resident, to whatever?
So there was a tax change this last legislative session for the state, and it's based on city population. The population bracket that Leavenworth is in, under 50,000, but over 10,000, I believe is 30%.
Of the
So,
home value?
no, 30% of the rehab costs. So if you
Okay, okay.
did $10,000 worth of work,
It's 30% if you're a not-for-profit.
No, they changed it.
they changed
So
it.
that everything's
It came
30%?
in July with the new fiscal year, this year.
Good.
So it's 30%, so if you spent $10,000, you would get $3,000 in tax credits. If you couldn't use them yourselves, you can sell them, or in the churches,
We sell them to first.
you sell them, and they sell about 80 to 90 cents on the dollar.
Really? Very interesting.
And that can be any work. There's an application fee, and like he said, review time.
We put an elevator in First Presbyterian. It was needed. It fell under tax credits. We spent right at $230,000 to put it in. And we got 30% of that back after you pay all your expenses. So
Yeah.
you got an
Gotta front the money.
upfront cost,
And did you
Yeah.
guys sell your
but you
tax
get
credits then?
reimbursed for that.
Did you sell your tax credits then?
And we sold it to Commerce Bank in St. Louis, and we got 91 cents on the dollar, and we've gotten 91 cents on the dollar for 8 different projects.
It's pretty lucrative in Kansas because it goes through an audit process. It's not like some of the other tax credit programs in the state, like the fundraising type tax credits, because they go through the process and they're audited. That makes them more lucrative because they can hold their value.
So can you help with that process, you individually, like if somebody has questions on that application?
I did that for 2.5 years when I worked for the state.
So is there also federal funding as well? So like you said that both of you have gotten tax credits. Have you gone on the federal level to get tax credits too?
Federal's only available to income producing properties.
Which would be for, well, for.
And it has to
for
be
Non-for-profit.
it has to be a substantial rehab too. So you have to be spending basically more than the building's worth. So we've worked with some property owners in the downtown historic district on federal projects. Like Abernathy, the one, up north, that was a tax credit project.
Is it 30% as well?
It's 30% state and 20% federal,
Okay, good to know.
Dripped out over.
5 years.
So 4%.
It's prorated, yeah.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
And you can't sell.
No.
And you can't sell
You can't
the,
sell the federal.
oh, you can't sell the federal.
But you can start work before approval with federal.
So see, you just gave me some more pertinent information about, well, as I'm thinking of other projects I'm involved with in the community, that would be, you know, when we're talking about training, you know, getting you to do a half an hour, since I've got subject matter experts up here of experience in using that kind of project, which only helps me do better at what I'm doing here. And realizing that some organizations I do stuff with, that's an available avenue for them to get some things done that, well, okay, that's why.
Great nuggets of information tonight from
Well,
everybody.
yes, that's why they call it training. You know, I mean, I got pros all up. A good leader is surrounded by people that have information that they don't know.
If anyone wants to put solar panels on the top of their commercial building, my interpretation, the one I called the Kansas people, they say, yes, that's considered part of the electrical system of the building.
Yeah.
So you could get your 30% tax credits and then also solar credits and
You can
probably
stack.
accelerated depreciation and stuff like that.
People do that with the LIHTC, the low income housing tax credit, opportunity zone.
My brain is just spinning over here. This is so fascinating. It really is. So,
Now, we upgraded the electrical, went from 60 to 80 in the First Presbyterian Church, but it's outside the church. That tomb that's in there below ground that houses it, we're not able to get tax credit.
Because it's not part of the building.
It's not part of the original.
Interesting.
later.
And sewers, the sewer work within the foundation of the building is included, but the hookup to the city
So
is
once it's
not.
outside of the
So they
foundation.
prorate the credits in that case.
Okay,
Lots to learn.
anything else?
How do they prorate the credits?
They do a
I
percentage.
mean, I have
Percentage?
enough right now to chew
Okay.
on. I mean,
That's
I'm,
excellent.
Excluding I'm not hungry for more information right over here, because
I've hit my max for the day.
We won't overload you.
okay, so if that's where it is, and unless you have anything else,
I don't.
I'll entertain a motion for us to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we adjourn. All in favor, I'll start with Sherry. Aye.
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 Aye, and again, welcome, and thank you very much. You're going to be an incredible embellishment to our.
Yes.
And don't worry, we come with lots of questions. The longer you sit in the room with us, the more questions are gonna generate.
Well, I'll see you guys, I guess, in March, right?
Maybe so, yeah.
Adios. Happy New
Adios,
Year.
be careful on your vacation.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, enjoy your cruise.
Yes.
Yes, 10 days. I really go.
Thank
for
you,
more.
guys.
Oh my God.